Kal Kadosh, Shavua Tov. I hope all is well. Mishna Yomi. This is going to be Masechet Kiddushin, finishing the Masechet. Perek Daled, the fourth chapter, and Asara Yuchasin. And we are doing Mishnah Yud Gimel Yud Daled 13 and 14. Mishnah Yud Gimel says, Lo yilamed adam ravak sofrim, which means that a person that's not married cannot become or be accustomed to be a school teacher. The reason why is because if he's going to be the sofrim, again, the sofer here does not mean literally a scribe. It means that he's melamed tinokot. He's teaching children. So what happens is that if he's doing that, many times the mothers will come to bring the children to school, and then there's going to be a problem of yichud, because we're continuing with all the problems of yichud. Velo telamed isha sofrim, or a woman shouldn't teach the school children. The reason why is because many times she used to do it at home, and therefore what happens is that the teacher, the male teacher, would do it in a school. The women would do it at home, and therefore again the fathers would come, and then there would be a problem of yichud. Rabbi Eliezer is even more stringent, and he says, Af mishen lo isha lo yimen sofrim, which means that not only if he's not married, even if he is married, but right now his wife is not with him in the school building, the same thing, he should not be accustomed to be a school teacher because of, again, the problem of yichud. Okay? Fine. Now we're going to the next Mishnah, Yud Dalet. Rabbi Yehuda says, Lo yir'eh ravak behema. A person that's not married should not shepherd animals. Why? Because once he sees that they might be having relations between them, so therefore he might desire something. So therefore if he's a ravak, if he's not married, we don't want him doing these things. And two unmarried people should not sleep in the same cloak, basically in the same clothing or the same bed, same things. But the Chachamim, they say, no, we're not going to suspect of different sins of whether it's going to be with an animal, another man, or between the two men as well. Now we're going back to Mishnah Yud Bet. If you remember, we mentioned in Mishnah Yud Bet that a man cannot be alone with one or two women, but he may be alone with three or more. And the Mishnah was going to explain what exactly is going on. So now the Mishnah says like this: Kol she'asko im anashim, anybody that does business with women, right? That means that's what he does. So he says here, for example, who sells women's clothing, tailor, all these things that he cannot have seclusion even with many women. Now the reason why is since he's familiar with them, so therefore he may actually come to do a sin. If it's going to be one man and three women, so we're not going to suspect that he'll be able to convince all three to do an avera, and then they might come and tell on him, and everyone will find out what's going on. But if it's going to be in such a scenario that he's always working with them, it could be that they'll cover up. And a person should also not teach his child the trade that has to do with being involved with women. Rabbi Meir comes and he says, a person should always teach his son an honest and a light trade, even if it does not have obviously a lot of profits. And pray to the one that everything belongs to him, the rich, the wealth, and the properties. But there's no such thing as a trade or a profession that has aniyut and ashirut. Why? He says, because sometimes you could have a doctor that he's a multi-millionaire, and other doctors, they don't make a lot. You have dentists, the same thing, lawyers, the same thing. It doesn't depend on the profession. It depends on hakol lefi zechuto. Everything has to do with the zechuyot. Now, the next Tana, he's actually going to prove this. Did you ever see a chaya, a wild animal, or a bird that has a trade or profession? And they're going to have even without any tsar. Yeah, and then he says, and they're only going to be there just to service me. Right, and I was created to serve my master. So shouldn't it be logical that I'm going to come and I'm going to be sustained without any suffering? But rather because of my deeds, so therefore I lost my parnasa. Abba Gurion, right, he comes and he says, so he says, a person should not teach his son to be a camel driver, or a gamal, or a We're talking about now a donkey driver. This one now is camel driver. Sapar is a barber. Sapan is a sailor. Roe is a shepherd. V'chen vani is a storekeeper. Shumanatan umanu listim, because these trades are trades of thieves, which means that they have a lot of dishonesty and they might be tempted to steal and other things. So therefore it's going to be prohibited. It's better not to teach your child one of these things. Rabbi Yehuda says in his name, the majority of donkey drivers are actually wicked people because they steal. Hagamalim, but the gamalim, they're actually kesharim. Why? But since they're going to deserts and they're always afraid of their lives, so therefore they always pray to Hashem. Hasapanim, the ruban or chasidim, the ones which are sailors are even chasidim because they're afraid of what's going on. Tov shebarofim laginam, the best of doctors will go to Geinam. There's many different explanations why exactly, but one of the explanations here is because since he's not afraid of sicknesses, so he will never humble himself in front of Hashem. And the best of the butchers is a partner with Amalek, because since they're constantly killing animals and everything, they might have a trait of cruelty, and therefore that in essence is Amalek. Rabbi Norai comes and he says, and with this we're concluding, right? We're speaking about the greatness of Torah. Right? I'm going to leave any manuts in the world. I'm only going to teach my child Torah. As a person benefits in this world, the principle is going to be for the next world. But all the other professions, it's not going to be like that. When a person becomes sick, elderly, or he has suffering, and he can't do melacha, he can't work, he's just going to die in hunger. The Torah is not like that. The Torah will always protect him in his youth, and will give him good reward and hope in his old age as well. What does it say in when he's young? Those that hope in Hashem, they'll give him renewed strength. It's going to be like an energizer. It's going to give him strength. What does it say when he becomes elderly? They will produce in their old age. And that's what it says by Avraham Avinu alav shalom. Avraham zaken, Hashem rachad Avraham hakol. He was elderly, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him bracha and everything. Matzinu, she'asa Avraham Avinu et kol haTorah kula ad shelo nitna. We find that Avraham Avinu filled the entire Torah even before it was given. Shneimar, ek v'shashama Avraham bekoli. That since Avraham listened to my voice, right, and he kept my safeguards, the commandments, the decrees, and the instructions, Hadran alach, Masechet, Kiddushin, and also this is the end of Seder Nashim. Have a wonderful day.